Please welcome Governor. Governor, what's happening there?
Yeah, well, good morning. And I heard your conversation earlier about how serious this situation is and how people really need to understand. You know, all the work that we're doing, we're working 24/7 to try to make sure we've got the personal protection equipment for our nurses and our doctors, because we know that we are on the upslope in terms of COVID-19 and who has it and how quickly it's spreading. We've had 5,500 people test positive so far. That number will keep going up. 132 lives have been lost, including one of my friends from the state legislature, Representative Isaac Robinson, who's 44. We know that this is something that's going to touch every one of our lives. And the only tool we have, where there's no vaccine and no cure, a virus that is novel and contagious and deadly, the tool we have is to separate. The virus can't spread between us if we're not together. And that's why we've been so aggressive here in Michigan. I know New York has as well, and a number of other states, to try to curtail the spread of this virus and flatten the curve. We've got a lot of work to do, but we need help. And whether it's the feds or it is the procurement we're doing, or all the great Michigan businesses and people that are coming together to help manufacture these N95 masks and gloves and gowns, we all need to be all hands on deck here. The enemy is not one another. The enemy is this virus.
Governor, this is Megan. Look, I know you know this better than anybody else, but people are really, really scared. And there's a lot of people that are doing the best they can and are socially quarantining. But when you hear reports about how states are outbidding each other and competing with each other between the federal government and governors in order to get the amount of supplies that they need, that doesn't make a lot of people feel good, especially if you're in a state that's not necessarily going to win that bidding war. What solution can we put in place to help all people in all states, regardless of how much money they have to bid on ventilators?
Well, we need to ramp up. We need to ramp up manufacturing here within our country. We rely on global trade, and it's not all necessarily bad, but you see how hard it is right now when swabs are manufactured in Italy, when masks are manufactured in China, and we have a global pandemic. We need to ramp up manufacturing here in the United States. We are seeing that. We've got Ford and FCA and General Motors here in this state, and Steelcase and other big employers who are refabricating their machinery so that they can create some of this needed PPE. That's one piece of it. Harnessing our buying power nationally would be a great thing if we could get that accomplished. And I think that that's something that is a conversation that still needs to be had. But in the interim, we states are doing everything we can to bring in the PPE into our borders. Our national stockpile allotment was great. We are incredibly grateful. 112 N95 masks came to Michigan on Saturday morning. But when there's one hospital that will go through 10,000 in one shift, it tells you how it was an important, helpful thing to get through the weekend, but we need a lot more. And that is not a story that's unique to Michigan, but right now with how quickly this is growing in Michigan, it is a uniquely hard thing for us to overcome, and we need all the help we can get.
Governor Whitmer, this is Sarah. Michigan is fast becoming the next U.S. hotspot, with new cases more than triple the national rate. And unlike other cities battling these numbers, 36% of the Detroit population lives in poverty. What challenges does that pose, and how are you ensuring poorer communities get the help that they need?
I'm glad you made that connection for your viewers, because poverty is a pre-existing condition when you're dealing with a virus like COVID-19. If you have higher rates of diabetes or heart disease or a variety of other issues that often will plague people that don't have enough access to health care, enough access to good paying jobs, enough access to great educational opportunities for their children, they pay a bigger price. And that's precisely what is a part of the issue that we're confronting as a state. When the population, 40% of whom is living under the ALICE guidelines, we know that they're going to hit hard, and that's why it's so important that we expand access to all of these opportunities to lift people out of poverty. But that's a longer-term conversation we've got to continue to have. Right now, though, as we seek to mitigate the harm that is happening across the country, staying away from one another is one of the most important things that people can do and all people should do to contribute to bringing down the spread of COVID-19 across the country.
Governor, this is Sunny Hostin. You've become a target for the president recently. He called you Gretchen Whitmer. I guess he thinks that's witty. And he instructed the vice president not to call the woman in Michigan. How do you respond to these attacks?
Well, you know what? All of my energy has to be laser focused on serving the people of my state. There are 10 million people in the state of Michigan. They are concerned. We see COVID-19 growing at such a fast rate, exponentially in our state. We have hospitals that are already at capacity, and nurses and doctors who are wearing the same mask from the beginning of their shift till the end. So I don't have energy to focus on anything other than trying to make sure that we work well with the federal government. And that means, the conversations I've had with the vice president and the head of FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers. We're grateful for their help. We need more of it, but I can't get distracted by anything else because this is the most important thing. I'm the governor of a state of hardworking, good people who need to know that if and when they get sick, that they're going to get the help that they need.
So the White House, through Vice President Pence,
Governor,
did reach out.
Oh.
Yeah, so I've had a number of conversations with the vice president. We're grateful. From the White House on down, we've had a lot of help from the feds, and that's something that we need to continue. And that's why I'm going to continue to push to make sure that we've got everything we need from the feds, from what we can procure and what we can make right here in Michigan. But we are, it's a serious situation. And what's happening in New York and what's starting to happen in Michigan is going to happen in a lot of other places across the country. And people have to take this seriously. Chip in and do your part.
Listen, our thanks to you, Governor Whitmer. We know how hard you're working. We're in it with